Welcome to Sounds of Brass.
Welcome to Sounds of Brass. Sounds of Brass is sponsored by Stratos Brass. Cushion the blow with Stratos Encore Pro and achieve new heights in your playing. Visit stratosbrass.com. Now over to Peter Webster for a great brass band show.
Welcome back to another instalment of Everything Brass with myself, Peter Webster, here on Sounds of Brass Radio. This week, Sounds of Brass has been out and about, visiting now all grown-up members of the original Glossop School Brass Band from Derbyshire here in the UK, and reminiscing about the musical director, Mr. Jack Fletcher, who lately sadly passed away. So as always, sit back, get comfy, and enjoy the show. tell you what an absolutely cracking tune, in fact, to open a show with. That was a piece that was written and composed by John Philip Sousa. It was being played by the Glossop School Band, who are our guests on the show today. That was from the 1979 album Tour de France, and of course under the direction of the musical director, the late Jack Fletcher. The school brass band from Glossop, Derbyshire in the UK, in the United Kingdom, was one of, if not the best youth brass band in the 1970s and 1980s. Now, Glossop School Band was founded actually in 1966 by the school's woodwork master, trombonist Jack Fletcher, who rehearsed the band each lunchtime in the school's joinery workshop. The band acquired an impressive record in junior entertainment competitions alongside its highly successful concerts in the school and surrounding districts. It regularly won the Imperial Youth Championships in Blackpool, knockout competitions on Radio Manchester and Radio Stoke, but not forgetting finishing second place on the Yorkshire TV concert in 1979. They also won the first Action Research Entertainment contest, which was held in Oldham in 1984. There was also regular appearances on television through the years, but unfortunately during the late 1980s the brass band suffered due to school reorganisations. Unfortunately, the late bandmaster Jack Fletcher then retired in 1988. Now, myself and Sounds of Brass have kindly been invited to their event today to remember the bandmaster Jack Fletcher of the Glossop School Band. And I'm going to be catching up with some of the past players to find out how music has been an influence in their lives and how the bandmaster Jack Fletcher was an influence to them. And also, of course, we're going to find out what fond memories, funny and maybe some embarrassing stories they wish to share with us about becoming a brass player at such a young age. I never know, they may do. But before that, here is a brilliant arrangement being played by the Glossop School Band back in 1979. It was a piece that was originally arranged by Ted Huggins and is a show favourite on the bandstand. And as it is said in the title, the piece has been written in two parts. The piece starts off with the choral and finishes with an exciting rock out. Here is the Glossop School Band from 1979 giving us Ted Huggins, choral and rock out. I'm here today with Bob Scupper. Is that how you pronounce it? That's it. Who was he was the Glossop Brass Band. What?
I played B-flat bass. I was the first B-flat bass player in the school band.
Wow, not the I tell you what, as a youngster, carrying a B-flat bass can't have been easy.
I wasn't fast enough to get something smaller up there. That's what it was. I can remember going into Flecky's room with following a couple of pals, and they'd one grabbed the cornet, one grabbed the trombone. I think there was only the bass left, so I just scope here, having that, you know.
So Bob, what got you into brass bands and playing in a school band instead of playing football with your friends outside?
I loved my music, and I think obviously when you're a youngster kid in the 60s, you want a guitar, so I had a guitar in the early 60s and played a few chords, and got to school and realised there was a lot of music going on, and found that myself and friends were jumping on the various activities that were there. And the brass band really appealed, and honestly, it was just a simple walk-in. You know, I fancied that, Mr. Blanchett. Fine, I was in. And I think at the time, the band was expanding. It was, you know, we're talking like 1960s, late 66, early 67, I remember. And there were no B-flat basses. They've got two E-flats, and I ended up with B-flat, and off we went.
Now, I was looking through the Facebook page for the school band,
yeah,
and something quite interested me actually was, why did they rehearse in a woodworking room instead of a music room of all places?
That was later on. It was, in fact, always rehearsed in the music. Glossop Comprehensive had a music department, and it was a separate room. And for the first couple of years, it was conducted by the music teacher. And like he had brought some players up from West End when it had gone comprehensive in 1965 and formed this new band, and he started to expand. And they did rehearse, say, that in that music what. And it wasn't until quite a few years later, I think, perhaps a bit of politics that made the music department and Flecky's brass band weren't quite as friendly, so he took them back to his own woodworking room, and that was the reason for that.
Because he was actually a woodwork teacher, wasn't he?
It was a woodwork teacher. He taught woodwork all through the time, and technical drawing. And the other thing his hobby was judo, so we also taught judo at night school. I'll tell you a story about that later if you like.
Definitely.
Carry on.
But before you tell me the story, I have come across a story that I think my listener would really love to know about. I'd like to know a little bit more about this mutiny within the band.
Yeah, it's a strange thing. The band, from 67, 68, we knew we were going places. It was expanding, 2 or 3 new players every couple of months. And all of a sudden, you know, by the end of 68, 69, we got a full band. We got 2 B-flat basses. You know, we got a full rank of trombones. We got plenty of cornets and everything. It was really, really, really good. And the reason for that was Flecky. We followed him. He led us. We listened. We liked the guy. We liked him. He treated us as adults. Yeah, we did what he asked of us, and it was reciprocated with friendship and winning trophies. It was, what a great time. But it seems strange that, like you say, he was the woodwork teacher, and he took over the band when the last music teacher left, and was really, you know, perhaps not the man who should be looking after the band. And we ended up with a new music teacher who was a great fella, great singer, good musician, got great plans for the orchestra, great plans for the choirs, and he, through his, what's the word, he applied, he told the headmaster, look, I am the head of music and I should be conducting the band, and probably quite rightly so. But you must understand this, that, you know, for someone to try and take over a band when you've had a leader for so long, you stand behind that leader, don't you, whether it's right or wrong. So the day came when Flecky came into a rehearsal room at the end of the week and said, look, Mr. Smith's going to be taking over the conducting from next week. He said, he's the head of music. I'll still be here. I'll not be going anywhere. I'll still be here every week with you. But it's just quite right. The scene does it, and that's it. And he just walked out of the room. So we were all looking around here. I said, you know, do we really want this? Yeah, we had nothing against Mr. Smith in the slightest. We all liked him up, so we were being taught by him as a, he was a great fella. But we got our conductor, and either we wanted to stick with him. And there were a few grumblings and murmurings going on, and somebody just said, well, if Mr. Smith's going to take over, I'd probably leave the band. Well, the couple were saying the same sort of thing. And it was then, really, that a bit of a plan started to materialise. And the mutiny began as such. So it was sort of like decided by a few hardcore of us that we should have been playing the following morning for Friday morning assembly. And we said we weren't going to go. So we didn't. So we didn't play for the band, didn't turn up for assembly. And the following week, we got called, the band got summoned to the headmaster. So we went to see the headmaster. We all went into his office. We were very, very respectful. We weren't angry. We stood solid. And we got a bit of a lecture from the headmaster saying that we had no right to do this. This music teacher was taking over from Flecky. And that we had no right taking the law into our own hands. And that grumbled us, because we said, it's not the law, sir. Say, incredible respect, we all were. We're very nervous, you don't I stand up to your headmaster sort of thing. And we said, this is our hobby. This is our social time. And he says, and if we don't, if we don't have Mr. Fletcher, then the chances are one of us will probably leave. And then somebody said, well, I'll leave as well. And then everyone said, well, I'll leave. And then he was a bit like the Three Musketeers, all for one and one for all. And all of a sudden, we're all leaving. And again, he sort of like dismissed us from his office with a blast. You know, right, doing this? And we all went out and looked at each other and just punched the air and walked away. So we didn't know what was going to happen. The day after was Tuesday lunchtime, was our band practice day. And we went to the music room. We didn't set the band up. We didn't put the chairs out. We didn't put the stands up. We just sort of like milled around to see who was going to arrive. And then there was a shouting, Flecky's coming across the corridor. So we looked out. By the, within 2 minutes, the chairs were out and the stands were up, sort of thing. And we sat down very quietly. He went to the front of the band, and he kept his eyes down. He didn't look at anybody. He said, thank you very much. You shouldn't have done it, but thank you very much again, and it won't be mentioned again. Right, London River. And that was it. It was never, ever, ever mentioned again. And over the last 50 years, as I bumped into him, and I said to him, hey, do you remember that when we had the rebellion and all that? And he just shook his head and wouldn't talk about it. It still wasn't spoken about over the last 50 years.
So what was he like as a music teacher?
As a music teacher?
Or teaching all?
As a woodwork teacher, he was brilliant. As a music teacher, he inspired you to do what you could do. He made you listen to yourself. He made you listen to your fellow musicians. And he just brought out the best of you. And it was just great. It was a great, great time for me. And I'll be honest with you, he'd be like a second father to me. I love the guy to pieces, and that's why I would do anything for him.
Yeah, it's a shame today now. This is, myself is a pet hate, I hate life. Obviously, with yourself, myself, when we were at school, music was part of curriculum. As today, it isn't, which I think that's absolutely scandalous myself. I think it still should be.
My daughter, who's now in her early 40s, set off as a music teacher and did it for 12 years and gave up because of the bureaucracy. Which I feel angry with her for not fighting it, but I quite understand why she stepped away from it. Very, very hard. Anyone who's trying to teach the arts at all today, it's very, very difficult. But yeah, it was a great, great time. And see, well, you're not just a teacher, a mentor, and he'd got plans. He with international trips and contests and concerts, and yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. A great, great time. I left, after the very, very early stages, and I stepped away. And at the end of 1971, I started working in 72, and I just watched the band go on and on and on and on, doing all these recordings and We went to Blow by Blow in Manchester again and kept on winning and winning. And fantastic. It's great. And here we are today celebrating with all these friends again.
Yeah, it's nice to see so many people here, and it must have a really good feeling to get everyone together again to reminisce over a life and such a... Which seems to me, it comes across as such an important person in your musical career, you know. So, you still play that?
I don't still play now, no, unfortunately. And I've not played seriously for quite a long time. When my daughter went to secondary school, she did, like her dad, joined the band and ended up being principal cornet. And I had the pleasure in the year 2000, you know, of going on with the band on a concert tour of Paris. And that was the last serious time I did any sort of B-flat bass playing. But what a great time that was as well. You know, I was in mid to late 40s then, but now I'm chasing 70. It's a bit different now. And yeah, I've still got one of my schoolboy pals out there. He's minded me to come back and play with the town bands. I thought, for God's sake, let me move off, you know. So yeah, he's still got a lot of people's blood.
Well, thank you very much for taking time to speak to myself and everyone here at Sounds of Brass Radio. To our second piece, here is the Glossop School Band. They're going to be giving us a piece of music they played from the 1979 Yorkshire TV concert competition they did. Here is the band's trombone player Derek Redfern's arrangement of the Spanish rock band Los Bravos' 1966 hit, Black is Black.
That was the Glossop School Band when they played in the Yorkshire TV Youth Concert Competition back in 1979. And that was, of course, Bob Scupham giving us a little bit of an insight of growing up and becoming a B-flat bass player, and also reminding us about Jack Fletcher, he was a woodwork teacher, and judo master as well, and also a brass band conductor as well. Absolutely fantastic story listening to that. It really, really was. And definitely mutiny. That's got to be a good one. A little bit rebellious. Hey, tell you what, when I met him, I would never have thought he had a rebellious streak in his name. But I was sure differently. I was sure that I was wrong. And the piece of music was, of course, Black is Black, which was by David Redfern and not Derek Redfern, as I originally said.
Attention all UK brass bands and brass players. Sounds of Brass is supported by New Moon Insurance Services Limited, a specialised insurance broker for all types of musical instruments, specifically brass instruments and brass bands. We are part of the banding community and are an insurance partner of Brass Band England and support various competitions and regional events up and down the UK. Since 2009, New Moon Insurance have supported brass bands by returning some of your premium to your band each year, which totals over £100,000. Whether you are a championship band or a local non-competing band, New Moon Insurance have cover that's right for you at competitive prices. If you are based in the UK, Isle of Man or the Channel Islands, for either your band insurance or specialist cover for your own instruments, why not give New Moon Insurance a call on 01892 280 323 or visit newmooninsurance.com.
Got a great piece of music coming your way now, which will take us quite nicely into our next guest on the show. The piece is a world-famous overture that was arranged by Winters. It's being played by the Ferry Williams Band under the direction of Kenneth Dennison. Here is the Ferry Williams Band giving us the overture to De Fledermaus. That was the Ferry Williams Band there, under the direction of Kenneth Dennison, giving us an absolutely brilliant arrangement by Winter, and that was the overture to Die Fledermaus here on Sounds of Brass. Remembering, if you want to get in touch with us, you want me to come and visit your band, or you would like a shout out, then by all means drop me a line at presenters@soundsofbrass.co.uk. That's presenters@soundsofbrass.co.uk. Remembering to put my name in the email, so that way the email will be passed straight on to me. And just as a reminder, remember that if you have missed any shows and you want to catch up with shows that have already been on the show and you've missed them, or you have listened to them and you've enjoyed them that much that you want to listen to them again, then you can always go over to the YouTube channel and in the search bar type in Sounds of Brass. That way you can catch up with all the presenter shows that's been on and listen to them at your heart's content. As I said before the last piece, our next guest on the show is no stranger in the brass band world, and he's definitely no stranger in the championship section. You'll definitely know his name, especially if you're a really brass band enthusiast out there. He used to be the musical director for the William Ferry Band. He's now a freelance musical director. I'd like to introduce on the show is Gary Cutt.
We're here today with Gary Cutt. You were the principal cornet player as well.
Yeah.
So obviously you're here today, remember me say about your time at the Glossop School Band. What would you say your most memorable memory would have been about the band? And of course, not forgetting Jack as a band trainer and the teacher.
I can remember going to school when I first started at 11 years old, and my brother played in the band before me. And Jack very kindly sent me a cornet home before the summer holidays. So I had 6 weeks of just to get ahead of the game sort of thing. So that's how it started. And then, started on third cornet, ended up principal cornet when I was 13, 14. And it was when we used to do the competitions at Blackpool, the Imperial Youth Championships it was called now. So that was that, and the French trips started then in Fontainebleau. So those times were just fantastic. For a school band, it was brilliant. It was...
What was it like as a young person being able to, travel, compete in competitions against other school bands?
It was so exciting to do this sort of thing. And now, I think back to it, it kick-started my sort of career in banding. So how I owe Jack Fletcher everything, really. It was an inspiration.
What different places do you actually go around competing places around the world?
We went to the Imperial Hotel. It was Blackpool, the initial Youth Championships of Great Britain. That was the major one, which I think they won every year, certainly from my time and beyond. And then we had this annual trip to Fontainebleau in France. We stayed in a boarding school. I played several concerts and that, and it was just wonderful atmosphere. It was brilliant.
What was it like playing a brass band in the school and not being outside with your friends, kicking a ball around? Or
I think things have changed so much these days.
Yeah, they are.
There's so many more interests for children now, but the school band, it just became your life. To be honest,
part of the norm.
Yeah, like I say, I was principal cornet with the band, and we rehearsed in the normal band on a Tuesday and Thursday lunch. The contest band rehearsed on a Wednesday, and then Jack developed a learning band on a Monday and Friday. And I used to go to every single practice, every lunchtime, without fail. I go to the juniors, would do the contest band. So it was my life, I think,
Thinking back to what you're saying there, and myself, when I first started playing, obviously I started playing when I was 5 years old, but when I got to senior school, and I was a tenor horn player, and I used every opportunity to get into the music department, instead of the dinner ladies saying, right, come on, get outside now and play, I could be in the music department, nice and warm and practice.
Absolutely. And we got all sorts of privileges of getting to the front of the queue for the school dinner.
Yeah.
Because we're going to band practice.
If there was a funny story that you could remember about Jack and obviously about the band as well, what would what would it be? And let me say, let's put it in another way. What you got up to when the teacher wasn't looking when you were out on these jobs as well. Because kids can be kids.
It's got to be a classic. When we were in France, we stayed in this boarding school, and the boys had one part of the dormitory, and there were 6 of us, maybe the characters of the band, and we controlled, in our room, we had all the fuses for the light switches.
Yeah.
So we were in bed at whatever time, but we could switch every other light off, and we controlled our light, so we could play poker. And one evening, we 6 of us went out into the village for a drink, and that wasn't good. We just came back to the grounds, and Jack Fletcher and Jack Holden, they were both waiting for us. And shall I say, it was we got a roasting. Roasting. There were 2 of them hiding under the coach, so we knew what was coming.
So what year was you? When did you start with?
1970. 1970, and I finished in 1976, I went to the first, it was the foundation year of Salford College of Technology, the brass band course that Roy Newsom founded.
Yeah.
So I left I did 1 year of sixth form and then went to this college. So it was 70 to 76.
Right. Oh, right. Fair enough. I know there's, I was looking at some of the posts and I watched some of the videos as well of the old school band. And I'm dying to actually, man, to get hold of someone who remembers the incident with Rod Hope and Emu.
Oh, yeah. Was that at Buxton?
I think it
Yeah,
was,
the Opera House at Buxton.
Yeah, because you get black and white picture there where you've got Emu there.
Yeah.
I must say, when I saw it, I chuckled. I thought that must have been hilarious.
Yeah, priceless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just try and play with an Emu over the top of you.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. And obviously to any of my listeners who probably aren't aware of who you are, obviously, Gary, you was the musical director of one of the top championship bands of England, which still are actually, was the Bury Williams Band, or better known as the Bury Band, which obviously you finished with in 2020. So what is it you're doing now yourself?
I'm freelance conducting, so I go to Scandinavia quite a lot. I've just taken Brighouse to the Yorkshire area. Just freelance. So.
Well, Gary, thank you for taking some time out from this special day.
It's a pleasure to meet these people that some of them I've not seen for 40, 45 years.
Wow. Well, it's absolute pleasure talking to you. I got an absolutely beautiful piece of music coming your way now. It's a piece that was arranged for brass band by Gareth Woods. It's a traditional Welsh tune. Here is the Glossop School Band giving us a little bit of Men of Harlech.
That was principal solo cornet player and now freelance musical director Gary Cutt from the Glossop School Band. Remembering the days have long gone now, but the fond memories of the music teacher Jack Fletcher, it's nice to see that they are carrying on. The piece was the traditional Welsh tune that was originally written by Gareth Woods, and they gave us a little bit of Men of Harlech. Remember to stick around though for part 2 of the show, as we've got a couple of more interviewees coming your way, and believe me when I tell you, we've got some great stories coming up.
Hello there, I'm Jamie McVicker, coming to you from Norfolk, Virginia in the United States. I've been playing euphonium since I was 8 years old, and I'm a lifelong lover of brass music. I'm really excited to be part of the team here at Sounds of Brass, so why not tune in and join me on Mondays or Fridays at 5:30 PM UK time, when I can share with you some of my favourite brass band music. Hope to see you there, and have a great rest of your day.
Now, as I said in the beginning of the show, the Glossop School Band came second place, finishing second place on the Yorkshire Television Concert in 1979. They had to play 3 different pieces for their section. We've got the second piece of music that they played for the competition. Here is a little bit of Tchaikovsky and the finale to the 1812 Overture. That was the Glossop School Band back in 1979, giving us the second piece in the selection of the competition. A little bit of Tchaikovsky and the 1812 Overture. We're going to take a little break from the Glossop School Band for the moment to give us another great piece of music that will take us up to the hour, where we shall catch up with some more interesting facts to do with Jack Fletcher. And I took time out to be able to speak to his two sons, who also played in the school band.
Louise, and you're listening to Sounds of Brass, presented by Chris Johnston. Sounds of Brass is sponsored by Marcus Reynolds, the embouchure man. He provides a high-quality practice device for all brass instrument players, helping you to develop tone, power and range. To find out more, visit his website stratusbrass.com. Now, back to the music.
originally composed by David Arnold and being played by the Black Dyke Band under the direction of Dr. Nicholas Childs. That was from their album The Movie Greats. And the movie, of course, was the suite from the Independence Day here on Sounds of Brass. What a cracking piece of music that is. It makes me actually want to go home and sit down and watch the movie. Absolutely brilliant. And just to let you know, be sure to tune in next Thursday for another cracking show where I am actually out and about again, but this time I'm over at the Staley Bridge Old Band. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago I was out and about at the Winter Gardens in Blackpool listening and following the Northwest Championships for brass bands. The Staley Bridge Old Band was part of the fourth section band and came in champions over the fourth section. So I've been invited over to do a follow-up interview with the musical director and some of the band members. So be sure to tune in next Thursday for that one. Got another great piece coming your way now. How many of you out there can actually remember sitting down, or you might even do it now, sitting down at the television on a Sunday and watching a program called Ski Sunday? If you do, you'll definitely recognise this next piece of music that's coming your way. It's been played by the Oberagua Brass Band. It's from their album Pops for Brass. Here is the Oberagua Brass Band giving us Pop Looks Back.
Hello, brass band lovers from Frenchy. My name is Eric Brice. I am French horn teacher and principal French horn player in the symphonic orchestra, but I also play tenor horn and I conduct a brass band in northern France in the lovely city of Amiens. I am really happy to be part of the Sounds of Brass presenters team. I want to interest and surprise you during my show and bring you the Sounds Brass ensembles, a bit of brass quintet, and above all magnificent international music for brass band. You can listen to my show twice a month on Thursday 6 p.m. UK time. Thank you for listening and enjoy my show.
For all those who have just joined us this week on Everything Brass here on Sounds of Brass Radio, myself, Peter, and Sounds of Brass we've been invited over to the Glossop School Band Room, or Band Hut, in fact, over in Derbyshire here in the UK, to visit some past players of the original Glossop School Band, and also to reminisce and remember their musical teacher, Jack Fletcher, who sadly, unfortunately, passed away last week. We've had some absolutely great interviews, and I actually caught up with John and Martin Fletcher to have a little bit of a chat about life as children of a school teacher, and also being part of a brass band where you knew that the actual conductor in front of you was actually your own father. And this is what they had to say to me.
Right, here with John and Martin. You were Jack's sons.
Yes, right, yes.
So what can you tell us about Jack and his life as a teacher and as a brass band, actually?
Well, he was a woodwork teacher, actually, so he didn't have any formal musical training. So he sort of started off the school band way back in, I believe it was about, 65? Yeah, 1965, with just a few instruments. And it was always done as a hobby, as I say, because he was a woodwork teacher. And he did like to sort of, be the best at everything. I think my dad, he was very, very keen. So the band, it took him a while to build it up. But gradually he got more and more players, and then they could get more and more instruments, and eventually he managed to get a full band.
Would you say that a perfectionist, as they'd say today?
Yes. Yeah, he did. He liked to win at things, because he had us in the swimming club. Yeah,
he was a perfectionist in everything he did, really, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Because he liked, say, that, the swimming, and he had birds when he retired, and he was winning all the shows and judges and stuff as well. He retired at 88, I think, I read.
No,
58. The year.
Oh, right.
1988.
Yeah, well, he was 58 when it...
57, 58. So.
Yeah. So he managed
we never agreed. Me and my dad never agreed on that. Well, it was about 57, 58.
Yeah.
I was talking to Gary Coyle earlier on. Was it Gary? No, work Gary. It was Bob.
Oh yeah, Bob.
Open. Yeah. And he was telling me that your dad also was a keen judo.
Yes.
He judo as well.
Yeah. He did all sorts. Judo, because he taught it at school for just a few people, and I was very young at that time, and he'd take me back. So we lived in Buxton, so he was travelling from Buxton to Glossop backwards and forwards. And so I wasn't at Glossop School. I was at a junior school in Buxton, and he'd come home, pick me up, and then drive back to Glossop, and we'd do judo in the gym at school in Glossop School. And so, he'd be teaching us that. And then
I remember I did judo as well. So.
Oh, yeah.
But it must have done it for a few years, because I never did the trip.
No, don't. Well, eventually we moved to Glossop, and so, and he... Because, my now wife, she did it, and I think Neil did it. And Neil's out there with the rest of the gang. Yeah, so, yes, he did judo, and he hurt his shoulder. It must have been his left shoulder, because... he had me changing gear in the car. Seriously. We would be driving all the way from Buxton to Glossop, and I would have to change gear. So I was changing gear with my right hand, sat in the front seat. He'd be doing the clutch and everything. And then, of course, when I eventually learned to drive, the blimmin' gear sticks on the wrong side then. I'm used to changing gear with my right hand. Yeah.
So I can imagine what that was like with a police officer.
Yes, well, that was a long time ago. I'll deny all knowledge of that now. Yes.
Oh dear. From what I've gathered, the people I've met today, he had so many followers, especially on school and that.
Yeah.
You must have been really, really proud of what he's done.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely very proud.
So I don't mean to upset.
Nothing about it.
I've never met the person, but over the last few days, last week, getting invited to come and do my show from here. I feel like I knew him myself, and I never did. He sounded like one of these people that you could approach and talk to about anything.
Oh yes,
he would guide you in the correct way, the correct path.
Well, the correct path was always his path.
Right.
And
it wasn't really, yeah. Was it
no,
about thing?
No. It made us winners because we all had to do it precisely how he wanted it. And of course, with us being a school band, and he was the teacher, albeit woodwork teacher, not a music teacher. He, the kids did what they were told because that was how it worked in school. Certainly back in the 70s and 80s. So it did have the advantage that they did it. Everybody did it how he wanted it. We were sort of, like deportment as well as the playing.
You play yourself?
Not now, sadly not now. Although both of us think,
we did at the time.
Yeah, at the time we were both principal cornet at one point.
We both started playing the cornet before we started school.
Right, yeah.
So he was like a Christmas present when he was about 4 or something, but like myself, and he played every day on at the age of 5.
Right. Yeah.
I joined the army and became a French horn player.
Right, so I played in the band.
Now I'm a musical director for a brass band in Belle Vue Brass Band in Stockport, and that. So it's amazing how, things. So what year was you within the band then?
Well, I would have been playing in it from about 73 to 79. And then I was off to university then. So Martin, what
like that? They were just saying, I know I finished in 82. So they were saying 75, 76 was the first year, Mark 2 years so.
Yeah.
Does that work out?
Probably, yeah.
I finished June 82.
What would you say your most memorable time about being in the band? And put it slightly differently. Playing in a band and then your old father stood in front of you.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. You see, although we did play with Dove Band, and it was never as good. And it was just sad. It was just normal for us, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's what we did every day.
We did it every day. Yeah. I mean, we just sort of took that as normal. So it was a bit hard to know what it would be like if it wasn't your dad that was the conductor, really. But yeah, I mean, we rehearsed every day at school in the woodwork room. It started off in the music room, but I think I don't know whether the orchestra needed that more. So eventually, we ended up every dinner time we'd set up music stands around the woodwork benches in his woodwork room, and rehearse there for dinner.
That's the only place I ever. Did you play in the music?
Oh yeah.
No, I only ever did it.
No, we used to carry bags of music stands from my dad's room all the way over to the music room, which
right the other side.
The far end of the school.
We didn't do that.
Talking to Bob earlier, he was telling me about the story. It's quite a funny one, actually, about the mutiny.
Yes. I've heard it a little bit in the past, but then he wrote it up and put it on Facebook, and so we have only just found out.
We've only heard that version. I've heard a very shortened version of my dad, but he never said much about it.
No.
But that's, where the kids stood up, and I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, if you imagine that today.
Not really.
I just knew that he set the band up and then the music wanted to take it over and he didn't want them to.
Well, the headmaster,
how it worked out.
The headmaster at that time, Mr. Bottomley, actually was a very nice guy, really. And I think, certainly him and my dad got on fairly well, so I thought it obviously turned out well.
He must have been doing something right.
Yeah,
that's all I can say. Yeah. I don't think in this day and age, I don't think any children would be doing that somehow. I really feel that. No. Anyway, listen, thank you very much, and I'm sorry to hear about your dad. Absolutely lovely to talk to you. Thank you for taking a few minutes out to speak to myself here on Sounds of Brass Radio.
Thank you very much.
And we're, as I said, from everyone inside the Brass
our condolences go with you. But yeah, he sounded like an absolutely fantastic guy. I wish I had been at his school in his band. I really did.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jen.
Thank you very much.
That was Martin and John Fletcher reminiscing about the band life and school life, and also having a parent who was an actual teacher as well as his second life as a parent. Absolutely brilliant. Lovely, lovely talking to them both. Got absolutely a great piece coming your now. We're going to go back with the Glossop School Band now, giving us their third piece. They played the 1979 Yorkshire TV Youth Concert. It's a little bit of a Glenn Miller, and here is a Miller Magic. The Glossop School Band recording from 1979, and that was a little bit of a Glenn Miller and a Miller Magic here on Sounds of Brass. And just a reminder that if you want to get in touch with myself, Peter, here at Sounds of Brass, you may have a upcoming venue coming on that you'd like us to visit and do an interview about, then why not drop me a line? It's free of charge. All you have to do is get them fingers tapping away on the keyboard and drop me an email to presenters@soundsofbrass.co.uk. That's presenters@soundsofbrass.co.uk. Remembering in the email, telling them what presenter you wish it to be sent to. And also, why not visit our website at soundsofbrass.co.uk and visit our store where you can get all the latest merchandise of Sounds of Brass. That's everything from hoodies to t-shirts, just like I've got on today. I've got my Sounds of Brass one on. They're absolutely fantastically well made. You can get bags, mouse mats, even aprons. They've got absolutely a load of stuff on there, so be sure to check that out as well. Got an absolutely beautiful piece coming your way now. One that I've not listened to and one that I've definitely not played in a very, very long time. It's being played by the Hendon Band of the Salvation Army. It's an absolutely gorgeous one. Now, unfortunately, I don't know the soloist, and I can't seem to figure out who it is neither. So if anyone can tell me who the soloist is that's playing this with the Hendon Band of the Salvation Army, then by all means, please send me an email so I can update my metadata. Here is the Hendon Band giving us an absolutely beautiful piece. Here is Silver Threads Amongst the Gold. That was the Hendon Band of the Salvation Army, giving us a piece that was originally written and composed by Hartpies Danks, and being played... Well, the soloist, I can't remember who the name is, so obviously if you drop us a line, anybody out there that can help me on that one, I'd be most appreciated. But that was Silver Threads Amongst the Gold. What an absolutely beautiful piece that was. Well, I must admit, what a day I've had today. Being over at the Glossop School Band, reminiscing a lost friend who is no longer with them, and a brilliant school teacher. I've had laughs, I've cried at some of the stories. You know, remembering the man Jack Fletcher, he was a woodwork teacher, a judo master, a trombonist, and of course he taught music as well. And I tell you, absolutely, the stories that I've heard today, I couldn't have asked for a better day. And I would like to say personally a thank you to the original Glossop School Band for inviting myself and Sounds of Brass over there today to talk to you all. I'm going to play you another piece of music now before we go to our final interviewee that I spoke to earlier today, a lady called Greta. But before that, we're going to take you to another band. It's an absolutely brilliant piece that was originally done as a contest piece. It's a piece done by Goff Richards. Here is a Saddleworth Festival Overture.
Greta, you were the soprano cornet player for the Glossop Band. What year was you in the band?
I think I joined around about 1982, and I think I left school about 1986 or 87, so I was on the SOP for the last year or so of that time.
Well, what would you say your memorable time with the band?
It's a toss-up between going to Valkenburg, because I've never been abroad before, so that was a chance for me to be away from parents, and be on a holiday and see a foreign culture which I've never been exposed to. Like at pen friends and stuff, in the old days used to write to them.
Yeah.
Or winning at the at Blackpool, we won the presumably the youth championship. And I remember going through the streets shouting, "We are the champions," at the top of our voices, and a hotel full of static. So those are my two kind of highlight moments.
Yeah, I did read something about that. Really. Yeah, I think they did that. Yeah. And not forgetting Jack Fletcher in the audio. What would you say the best thing about being a band teacher and also a woodwork teacher as well in school?
Well, I was in his woodwork class, and I was never very good at woodwork. So, but obviously he kind of he kind of helped out those that were in the band. So when I wanted to make my mouse from a mouse cheese board, we had to do this thing with a chisel chiseled it like really nice, and everyone's mouse was coming out like elephants. And I said to him, "I want a proper good mouse from a cheese board," and he goes, "Shh, don't let anyone see." And he got his chisel and made me a proper mouse. So I only really had that experience with him. I didn't do metal work with him, I just did woodwork. So mainly I knew him from the music side, just from the band side.
What got you into brass and playing in brass band?
It was my friend. She was playing tenor horn, and she knew I played the guitar in primary school, and she kept saying, "Come join the band, we need, cornet players." And I'm like, "But I play the guitar, I don't really want to learn a brass instrument." And she just said, "Well, you'll enjoy it." And she'd nagged me for so long, eventually I joined. That's why I think it was more like year 2, that I joined rather than year 1. Started off on the cornet, and our third cornet, and in them days there's about 10 third cornets, so I was about 15 foot from the stand and I couldn't see anything at all.
And obviously, a soprano cornet with another band that's I interviewed a few weeks ago over down in Blackpool, and still a big old bar.
Yeah.
Had to remember that. So, if there was a story you could remember about your school life as being a brass band, obviously with Jack and the teacher and that, what would be your really memorable, for me, embarrassing story that you could remember?
I don't really know what's that. Yeah, and there's a few times when I almost fallen off the stage, because on SOP you do tend to get pushed to the very outskirts of the stage, and and especially with Jack, there was a lot of standing up and turning out, and dark time strut as well, that kind of thing. I'm going to sit down and my chair's not going to be there. But luckily, that didn't happen for me. And obviously there was a bit of a, having a booze, but you shouldn't really be boozing because you're kids. And I'm like, I'm not drunk at all. And I probably had, a couple of cans of cider and things like that. But there was nothing, I didn't get locked in toilets when I shouldn't be locked anywhere like that, But I just had a really good time with the band.
Just talking not so long ago with John and Martin, Jack Sons, and they were telling me about the time where they snuck out go for a drink.
Yeah.
The Jack was waiting, and the dad was waiting for him when we got back.
Yeah.
And that, definitely, yeah. You've done, obviously the band did lots of competitions, lots of competitions as well. What was that like as a youngster in a band, and you get playing up against other schools, and there's a lot of the camaraderie, match with each other. That has been absolutely a new experience to actually be winning stuff.
It was good to be in a band that I knew I'd got a really good chance of winning. My time with the band was at the end of their, massive winning streak, because that had been in the years before me, but we were still on the, we went into contests, we were going to win, but I was like on third corner, and that's why kind of Wardle High School was our main competitor, it seemed to be. And I do remember sitting in the ballroom or wherever in Blackpool with all our table full of us and all them, they were kind of eyeing each other up, who's going to get second and who was going to get first. And when we got the first, of course, we were like jumping up, and that's when we was going out shouting, "We are the champions." So I regret being kind of a younger end of it, because I would have liked to experience some of the, the winning stuff. But it was nice to at least get onto that, tail end of it.
Yeah, also talking to a few years today. I did know the person, and it's been an honour being here, and from what I've learned about him, not just as a teaching music, not just doing woodwork for judo, but as a person in a whole, it was like I feel like I've known him for years. I never met the gentleman, but he came across sort as a fatherly figure to everybody, and got any problems you could talk to him. And that is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to leave that with today. We are going to be finishing off today's show with a special piece that Martin and John has asked you to dedicate to Jack Fletcher. Here is the Glossop School Band giving us a piece by William Henry Monk, dedicating it to the late Jack Fletcher. Here is The Inside.
Before we play the next piece of music that's dedicated to Jack Fletcher, I must apologise for the audio quality on my voice on that last interview. I don't know what happened. It went a little bit crackly. But this last piece of the show is being dedicated to Jack Fletcher from all of Glossop Band and everyone here at Sounds of Brass. Here is Eventide. Well, unfortunately, we have come to the end of yet another jam-packed show. So glad you've stuck around to the end. Hope you've enjoyed today's show. I know today's show was something slightly different, but as it says in the title of my show, I do absolutely everything to do with brass bands, whether it be brass bands from the past, brass bands of the future, and of course brass bands of the present. And it's so good to catch up with people to see how they've moved on from starting brass as youngsters up to the present day. And absolutely privileged also to talk to so many wonderful, wonderful people as well. Remember to tune in next Thursday as I will be over at the Stalybridge Old Band, catching up with them and doing a follow-on interview since the win at Blackpool of the 4th Section Championships. So be sure to stick around for that one. Well, what do you know? Time is upon us, and unfortunately, we've come to the end of yet another show. So glad to have you stick around. Hope you've enjoyed the show. I know today's show was slightly different, but then again, it's in the title of the show, and that's what I do. Everything brass, from young, past, old, future, and of course, to the present brass bands as well, whether it be competitions, championships, or remembering people from brass bands as well. But remember, if you want to get in touch with me about your brass band, you may have an upcoming event or something going on and you want to come over to your band room, then by all means, remember, you can always drop me a line. So for myself, Peter, and everyone here at Sounds of Brass, I'd like to wish you all a very good day.